Are you struggling with something in life and looking for ways to heal? My name is Santosha, and my goal is to help you find those ways. Welcome to my podcast, Become the Healer. Together, we'll explore an integrated healing approach and journey through ancient healing modalities, mindset shifts, scientific evidence, inspiring stories, and practical tips, empowering us to heal our lives, get unstuck from toxic patterns, and expand consciousness, raising our energetic vibration and healing the planet from within. Hello and welcome to this podcast on traditional Chinese medicine, where my main goal, the whole purpose of doing this podcast, is to increase conscious awareness of how the emotions are affecting our organs, of how our emotions are affecting our health. And yes, we're drawing upon knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine to do this. This is a 1,000-year-old practice, and I find it absolutely fascinating when I ran across the interconnectedness, how they mention specific emotions and how they affect our organs. Now, this is absolutely fascinating knowledge, and I'm going to recommend that you have a notebook that's specifically for this podcast. So every time you listen to a podcast, you have that notebook and you can write it down, because you are studying with me in order to become the healer of your life, to become consciously aware of what can make the body sick and then how to heal it. Yes, and we're going to try to learn so much in this podcast. I'm really excited, especially about these mindset shifts podcast. So specifically, we need to create some mindset shifts in order to understand how to heal. So the first few podcasts that I'm releasing are designed to create that mindset shift. So if you are just joining the podcast now and you maybe listened to another episode or you just ran across this one, go and look for those other mindset shifts episodes, because they will make this aha moment, light bulb moment in your life, and you will feel more empowered towards your own healing. Okay, super important. Okay, so yes, traditional Chinese medicine links certain emotions to certain organs. So there are 5 main organs known as Zhang organs: the heart, the liver, spleen, lung, and kidneys. Each one of these organs has a corresponding organs that it also affects. So when qi is low in the liver, the gallbladder is also affected. If qi is low in the spleen, if there's unresolved emotions in the spleen, the stomach gets affected. The heart is connected to small intestines, the lung is connected to the large intestines, and the kidneys are related to the bladder. So understanding how these emotions, how these organs are connected is really important, because now we're going to look at the emotions that's related to each one of these 5 main Zhang organs. This is what they call in traditional Chinese medicine Zhang. Z-A-N-G. You can write that down. Then there's the smaller organs of Fu, I think, Zhang Fu organs, and they linked these organs. So let's look at how this works. The heart is considered as the emperor of all organs. It's the main organ that is affected by a lot of all the emotions that are recommended, that are suggested to link to the other organs. They all affect the heart in some way or another. So just be consciously aware of that. It is an interconnected system. So it is true that, say, for instance, if the liver is feeling out of balance, it will affect other organs as well. So it's important to maintain that sense of equilibrium, like the Zen state. And this is what's fascinating to me when I think about Zen Buddhism, how they're saying to remain Zen, just remain in this peace, contentful state of being. A few years ago, I heard this, well, maybe 20 years ago, and I thought, well, that's ridiculous. I'd like to be more like Mozart and play all the emotions that we have available here as humans. But when I look at traditional Chinese medicine, I think, okay, remaining zen and not going through these emotions too extreme is the trick, because you got to keep a balance, right? So too extreme. Okay, so let's look at the emotions that's connected to the heart. It's actually joy and overexcitement. Like when you get overexcited, joy. I was shocked when I first read this. I went, joy? Let's speculate for a minute. How can joy affect the heart, like negatively, put it out of balance? So that would have to be a huge amount of imbalance to affect the heart. And, okay, my father died of heart problems. His arteries were clogged. He wasn't that joyful. It was like, it doesn't make sense to me when I relate it to issues or people with heart problems. They're not excessively joyful. So then I have to remember, wait. Okay, so if the other organs are really feeling awful, like too much worry or too much anxiety or too much fear or too much anger, that can affect the heart as well. So like, okay, so the whole system would have been out of balance. Okay, so the liver is associated with anger and irritability. So you can write that down, right? Liver associated with anger, and it's also linked to the gallbladder. So I don't know if we sort of think about if you have an aunt, an older aunt, an elderly aunt, and she's always angry or upset about something that happened 10 years ago. She's always angry and irritable about this issue that happened 10 years ago. Notice and you just reflect upon for a moment, does someone like this in your life have liver and gallbladder issues? Someone who's always angry, like they have excessive amount of anger. Perhaps they have anger outbursts, like these narcissistic ego people who believe they're always right. And so if you say, no, you're not right, they suddenly burst out into anger. Do they have liver and gallbladder issues? From what I've noticed, and you please comment on the blog, on the post, on the podcast post on my website. If you notice someone who has had anger problems, what health issues are they dealing with? I know anger affects the heart. Chronic stress affects the heart. We can see this in scientific evidence, right? In the Western medicine scientific evidence. So it's interesting to just look at this. So the liver is associated with anger and irritability. And the spleen, let's move on to the spleen now. It's linked to overthinking and worry. Oh my goodness. Worry and overthinking seems to run in my family. Worry and anxiety does. Overthinking, I link it to ruminating. And again, I link it to those narcissistic people who come into our lives and gaslight us into something, have us thinking whether we're right and wrong. And then we start to worry about this, that, and the other, and worrying about the future. So I think overthinking and worrying are completely different emotions. Specifically, traditional Chinese medicine, the original sources just say worry, anxiety, but you can think worry. Sometimes people who worry too much do start to overthink it, right? So worry affects the spleen. The spleen is affected to the stomach and linked to the stomach. So when the spleen is low or the qi is imbalanced in the spleen, it can affect our digestive system. So I know when I'm in a particular state of worry about an issue that I have to eat easily digestible foods. If I'm feeling strong and happy, I can eat almost anything and I don't have any problems. Have you ever noticed that? There's some particular times, some particular days that you feel you can eat something and have absolutely no problems with it. Or you just found like, oh, wow, that was easy today, And then there's sometimes you just feel a bit overwhelmed with life and you seem to worry. Maybe you've got worries with work or pressure at work and you tend to worry about it. And it's been going on for maybe a week or two and you start to think, I'm having digestive issues. Maybe gas, bloating, constipation, or even like a loose stool or something, it's related to our digestion from top to bottom. And this is also connected to our ability to digest all the nutrients in our food. So people who, from my experience, I've seen people who tend to overthink or worry about a lot of things. These are the ones that tend to go organic. I know it's crazy, right? Because their body, they find their body is lacking nutrients. So they go organic or vegan or vegetarian naturally because the body is having difficulties digesting. And of course it affects our immune system. The lungs is governed by grief and sadness. And the lungs, of course, are related to our respiratory system, obviously, which, a well-functioning lung system or lungs maintains an improved immune system, a strong immune system. So lungs linked to our immune system, yeah, sure. It also says that a strong lung energy promotes courage and inspiration. So you're feeling more courageous in life if your lungs are working. So unresolved grief or sadness can disrupt the lung function. And the lungs, if you remember, are linked to the large intestine. So again, we have another emotion. Grief and sadness can affect our digestion in the bowels. So we can't feel grief and sadness for a long period of time. Not an immense amount of grief or sadness, right? I mean, when I moved out of the house at age 16, I cried for weeks. And I don't remember now, but back then, probably I had problems with my lungs. Maybe I didn't have asthma at the time, but probably then it was going into the intestines. It's interesting. And yeah, it's interesting, right? Immense amount of grief and sadness. Let's say in your childhood, you have asthma, or you know of a child with asthma. Just reflect upon, contemplate, and observe. Do they have issues of sadness and grief in their life? Maybe their parents separated, and then suddenly the child has asthma, or develops asthma over the next few years. And it's like, wow, he was so healthy back then when we were together. But for some reason, the child is carrying the sadness with them. They don't know how to process it. Remember, these are unresolved emotions, not healthy emotions. Yes, you can feel sadness when someone dies, or you can feel anger over something, like you didn't get your paycheck on time and you got bills to pay. But it's when it's unresolved and carried for long periods of time is when it affects the emotions, our organs, and our overall health. Kidneys is associated with fear and anxiety. So, for me recently, I was feeling a sense of insecurity. I wasn't feeling safe with someone in my life who was narcissistic, very angry person who had been gaslighting and lying and manipulating me to believe these lies. And yes, it's a pattern in my past life karma. So I had to experience again, I'm going to say again, in order to bring this to my attention that I hadn't fully healed or resolved past life karma. And I'm currently using a higher vibrational technique, working with the Pleiadian emissaries of light to get to the deeper core issues and the energetic vibration of this past life karma, because I needed some help on this one. So I called on a higher power. That's a completely different topic. I do want to get into everything in this podcast, but you notice I'm just dropping these little hints from time to time about what's upcoming in podcasts, because I really want you to get excited about the depth of knowledge that I'd like to share with you, so you can take your life to the next level and you can be consciously aware about what's affecting your health, your reality, your energetic vibration. And wow, it's just so much fun. Okay. So just summing up here, then we can see that, the organs are connected to each other, and specific emotions are affecting them. The heart connected to joy, liver is associated with anger, spleen is worry, lungs is sadness and grief, and kidneys is fear and anxiety. Yeah. So fascinating, isn't it? And I found that when I came across this knowledge, fear and anxiety runs in my family. Anxiety and worry especially, but anxiety as well. We worry about the future. I used to, I don't anymore. But there is I feel a sense of overwhelm in my worry. And I looked at this, I'm thinking, anytime I'm worrying about something, I now know that's going to affect my kidneys. The anxiety is going to affect my kidneys. Worry affects my spleen. Right? So when I start to worry about something, I'm like overthinking and worrying, ruminating about this narcissistic person who's been gaslighting me, and I can't disconnect. I don't know if you've ever experienced gaslighting, but it's really difficult. You get triggered and you want a resolution, and oh my goodness, it just comes fueled with all this anger and confusion and overwhelm. And when we are consciously aware of this, we can stop ourselves in the middle of these dramas, because we have this level of conscious awareness, and we can go, wait. Do I need to experience this emotion to extremes right now? Because I know that's going to affect my health and well-being. At least we can increase the conscious awareness, even if you don't have the power or resolution or the tools and techniques in place yet to be able to change it instantly like this. It takes time to develop that resilience and those tools and techniques to be able to shift a whole lifetime of patterns, right? It takes time to develop this ability. It takes time. But at least we can increase our conscious awareness right now. Okay, so to sum up this podcast, what we have seen is that 1,000 or centuries-year-old healing modality, traditional Chinese medicine, believes that certain emotions affect the energy, the qi energy flow in our bodies. Specific emotions are related to specific organs, and these organs have a sister organ or corresponding organ. And so now we know, you are consciously aware of when specific emotions that you're experiencing, you're holding on to them for a long period of time, you'll start to recognize that, okay, my organs are start to, not work so well. So for me personally, this knowledge is super important on my healing journey. I have a goal to heal my eyes. For over 20 years, I've had this goal because I came across a woman who was doing eye exercises. That's all she was doing, eye exercises. And she healed her eyes. Now, at the time, she had -3, and my eyes were -3 back then now. But I didn't do the eye exercises. I felt as though I was missing something. I didn't have the motivation. And so now my eyes are like a -4.5, right? I've got the prescription of my eyes from over the years because I thought I should keep them. Because if I do manage to heal my eyes to the point where I don't wear glasses anymore, like they're functioning fully, wow, I want to prove to people that I had to wear glasses. So I kept the prescription, because it's been a few years now that I keep thinking, yeah, I'm going to do this. But the knowledge I was missing is that the emotions that I go through during this narcissistic trauma, that is a pattern in my life, these emotions are causing an imbalance in my entire system. All my organs are struggling right now. I know I've got a lot of gas in the liver, the gallbladder is being affected, my digestion is being affected, so I'm, constipated. Everything's being affected right now. How can I work on just my eyes? Just my eyes? Not possible. It's a whole system. So I came to this realization the other day that in order to heal my eyes, I need to create boundaries in my life and just not let these negative narcissistic people in my life. I need to heal that energetic vibration from this past life karma so that they're no longer drawn into my life. Because I can tell you right now, the recent one in my life that you'll hear, the Dark Night of the Soul podcast episode, that is going to be wild for you to listen to. Please go find it. When you listen to that, you'll see that I've been through something very, very dark, right? And I'm demonstrating this to you. I decided to record this Dark Night of the Soul when I got up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like this, recording this episode. I wanted you to experience this so that you know you're not alone. We all have emotional patterns. We all do. And we're all looking to heal them, right? And so that you know I'm not perfect. I'm a human, and I was born in a personal template where I experienced certain patterns in my life, emotional patterns, thought patterns, stuck core beliefs, because I was born in a personal template. I've got past life karma I'm working to heal. I know I've got family lineage baggage and burdens. I know which ones I've healed. I can tell you, I've had so much fun on this journey. I have gone through and taken myself to completely different levels. But still, this one pattern, oh my goodness, I was introduced to this one person as a very nice family man. And later on, I find out some real bad shit about him. I don't know how much in detail we need to go into this, because right now we're recording a podcast on traditional Chinese medicine. But I just want you to know that the traditional Chinese medicine knowledge has done the world of good for me. So I can be more consciously aware when I'm carrying these emotions during these traumatic times and seek ways to move on, to resolve them and move on. Not suppress them, but resolve them. So throughout my podcast, throughout our journey with this podcast, I want to share with you some techniques so you can heal these emotions, whether they're old emotions from 10, 20 years ago, or whether you've inherited them, or perhaps they're stuck into a traumatic event from a past life karma. You can heal anything. But first, you got to know why. Now, thanks to the podcast on German New Medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, and we're even going to be going about the scientific evidence when we see in Reiki. These are Mindset Shifts podcast. So remember, I'm going to remind you one more time. If you refer the podcast to anyone, tell them they have to listen to the Mindset Shifts podcast first, because then they will understand the entirety of the podcast and even understand when I make reference to these healing modalities. Traditional Chinese medicine, German New Medicine, Mindset Shifts. Yeah? And even if you're listening to this podcast now and you can think, oh my goodness, I didn't listen to all of them yet. I really should go do that now. Yeah, I love it when my listeners binge listen to my podcast. I am super excited about sharing this knowledge with you. And I am even more excited about exploring deeply into this topic. And I have made plans to start going to these blue zones where people are living into their hundreds and are very actively involved in their life with full health. My first one I'm going to is in Greece. And it's just come to me the last couple of days, so I'm super excited about this new knowledge that's been divinely guided. It's like, wow, I'm going to go and investigate what's happening there? Do they have extreme emotions, trauma, drama, narcissism, or are they working peacefully together and that's keeping all their organs in balance? And how can we put this knowledge into other places around the world so that other people can live a long and healthy life? How can we do it? You right now, you're listening to my podcast. I'm excited to have you on this journey because with this knowledge, wow, we can completely change our lives around. Completely. I want to know if it's possible. I have the passion. I have the inspiration and the dedication to follow it through. Let's see how effective it is. And in fact, I have this dream, this inspiration to do a 1-month retreat in the Greek islands with these handful of people who are eager to explore all the techniques that I've experienced and gained and learned from and developed, researched over 20 years, who are eager to explore these with me on a deeper level over 1 month in the Greek islands and see what effect that has on their physical health and well-being. I'm excited to do this because I want to see the effects. I've got some theories right now. You can see them. I'm excited about this, but I want to know. So I'm going to explore a lot on this podcast. I don't know where this is going to take us over 1, 2, maybe 5, maybe 10 years of exploration, but I'm super excited. You're with me in the very beginning stages of this development. Let's research and explore together, shall we? I'm working on my own health issues. You're working on your issues in your life, and let's see where we can take this. I am super excited. I think I've said that before. So thank you for listening to the podcast. Now I am going to pass you on to my lovely outro, which is going to remind you to subscribe and tune in to other podcasts. Enjoy and many blessings for your journey. Thank you for listening to my podcast, Become the Healer. I'm super grateful to have you as part of this community. You are awesome. And before we go, I want to remind you about 2 exciting things that you don't want to miss out on. First and foremost, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. By doing so, you'll never miss out on one of these juicy good episodes and even stay up to date with upcoming events. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on a single moment of what's coming up. But wait, there's more. Also, head over to my YouTube channel called Healing the Planet from Within and also hit that subscribe button. That way you can enjoy all the fantastic content, including traveling to sacred places and fun behind the scenes moments. Subscribing is super easy. It takes 1 click and would mean the world to me. So go ahead and make sure you're part of this incredible community, both on my podcast and YouTube channel. And finally, wander over to my website, Healing the Planet from Within, and become part of our healing community by downloading the worksheets and making inspiring comments on the podcast episodes. It's super, super great to have you with us in this community. Thank you so much for joining me on this amazing journey. Your support means the world to me because this is truly my biggest passion in life. I look forward to connecting with you on another episode or even in person.